Welcome back to episode 4 of the 330 Diesel Track Project series. You join me with Gareth and Gareth.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
And
Gareth.
Confusing. Very confusing.
Very confusing. The aim of this episode is to fit Gareth with a brand new set of EBC brake discs and pads. We're also going to tell you about brake discs and pads, different compounds, heat cycles, because Gareth, human Gareth, has done a lot of research. So before we crack on with the build, here's everything you need to know about brakes. We have 3 different discs behind us. Gareth, what are we looking at and what's going on the car?
So that's your standard brake. It's got no grooves, it's got no holes. This is a groove brake from EBC, so this is the actual brake disc that's going to be going onto the car. And this is one that we pilfered from the workshop, and this is a drilled brake disc. So on a track car, you generate quite a lot of heat when you're braking. So what happens is your kinetic energy or your moving energy is then transferred into heat energy as your brake pads push along the disc. By doing so, it does create a little bit of dust and gas, and within that it forms a layer between the disc and the pad, and so you want a nice clean interface between the two so you get maximum stopping power. These sorts of brakes that have a groove in it, it allows the gases to expand into these cavities and get expelled between it. So moderate track days, you can probably use your normal discs, maybe upgrade your pads. If you want to be hitting track days a little bit more, then grooved or groove dimpled discs are the way forward. And last but not least, I'm sure a lot of you know exactly what these are. These are drilled brake discs or drilled rotors. One of the main problems with this is the fact that you go through a whole range of hot-cold cycles, and that causes the metal to start propagating cracks because the disc itself doesn't cool homogeneously. For on-road use, they're perfectly fine. I mean, you're not going to see searing temperatures as you would on a track, so that's why a whole bunch of manufacturers have decided to keep them on cars. I know Porsche use them and Mercedes use them as well. It's no issue, but they're not for track. So the EBC slotted brake rotors are the ones we're going to go for. And just to summarize, the reason why we've done that is because it expels gas a lot better when your temperatures are high, and as well as the sweeping motion with these grooves helps clean the face of the brake pads.
And why are they black?
And these are black because they have an anti-corrosion coating. These are actually made from grey cast iron, and the reason why it is grey cast iron is because there's a certain percentage of graphite in it. With that, almost like a composite material of graphite and iron, it creates a good heat sink, and that's the sort of thing that you need with a disc.
So something like this EBC slotted brake disc is great for people on a budget, people like us who want to explore track driving. But if you really wanted to splash the cash, what other materials could you get your brake discs in?
So if you really wanted to hammer your bank account, you could go for something like a carbon fiber silicon carbide type brake disc.
That doesn't only sound difficult to say, but it also sounds very expensive.
It is very expensive, so you'll get those on sort of high performance GT cars.
And what's the benefit of using something like that versus this?
Generally lightweight, the coefficients of friction are a lot higher, and the temperatures that it can take are much higher.
Okay, so that is discs discussed. Now let's have a look at the pads that we're going for. We've got these yellow stuff EBC brake pads.
So these are pretty good for the application that we're after. We're not going for hardcore track days, we just want to beat that M3. So for EBC yellow stuff, the coefficients of friction are a lot different to your normal OEM pads. So what you'll find is with an OEM pad, there'll be really good cold bite, and then as it heats up, you'll see it start tapering off, so your coefficients of friction drop, and that's not exactly what you want from a track pad. EBC yellow stuff brake pads, they'll remain a sort of almost constant, if not slightly increased coefficient of friction, and then that is over the entire temperature range of the pad. As soon as you start exceeding that, that's when you run into problems where it starts dipping off. So with the EBC pads, you get a chamfered edge, which helps with noise. You get less of it. You also have on the back here an anti-squeal pad, so that's a good feature. It's split in half, so it allows both sections of the pad to expand to prevent cracking. I know that they will feel a lot better than OEMs. You'll get the initial bite with them is a lot better. I have them on my car, you had them on your M3, and they're far better than the OEMs.
So what we're going to be doing today is changing the brake pads, changing the brake discs, and we are going to be changing the brake fluid to, what was it?
.4 racing fluid.
.4 race fluid. As ever in these episodes, everything that you see going on to Gareth, be it brake pads or brake discs, you can buy on the Car Throttle shop. So go check it out by clicking this link. Right, so the brake installation is now complete. All that's left to do is to put the wheels back on and then test the car out on Kerber's Sprint Circuit. We'll see you there. Now before I get started smashing this car around and doing some laps, a quick advisory notice. Obviously we've put these EBC brake pads and discs on. I just wanted to tell you guys about the braking period. Now when you first start driving the car, you've got to be super careful, nice and light on the brake pedal for the first 100 miles. And if you feel that the car is braking like an absolute champ, do not be fooled, because that is a break-in coating that is on the pads that gives an abnormally high feeling of friction. So the car feels like it's braking super hard, but you have to be really careful with it. After that, allow for around 300 miles of normal driving to ensure that the brake pads are properly bedded in. So just like the brake pads, the brake discs also need to be bedded in. A good way to bed in discs is by getting a lot of heat in them, but remember, do not come to a full stop, because if you do that, then the heat cannot escape between the disc and the pad, and that means that the disc is prone to warping. So by all means, get a lot of heat in, but keep on rolling and make sure that the temperatures come down gradually. And already I can tell that the brakes on this feel sharper. The pedal response is nicer, it's more kind of positive action. I feel happier going into corners more quickly because I know that I'm going to scrub off speed quite a lot more quickly than stock. That's not to say that the stock rotors were actually bad, they weren't. But when you've got these grooved discs and EBC yellow stuff pads, you kind of realise that you've been missing out on quite a lot of braking potential.
Right then, enough talking, let's hit the track for lap times.
3, 2, 1, go.
Good start. Into second, bit of tyre squeal. Come on, be brave, Alex. Alex and Gareth, be brave together. Woo! God, I love these tyres. Oh dear. Ooh. Bit wild. Oh, brakes are so much more positive now. Bit of oversteer. I'm pushing quite hard here.
Not bad. That was 39.15.
39.15. Are you... oh no, that's not very good, is it?
Yeah, it's about half a second off.
Cool. Okay, we'll improve on that. I was a little bit wild there. I was like a wild young buck seeing a mare for the first time, and I was like, whoa.
3, 2, 1, go.
Better start. Come on, this is where I need the diff most.
Whoa! You might not believe this. So the time you needed to beat was 38.45. You just did 38.45.
What? You're joking.
I promise you.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Right, no talking, I'm afraid. Big concentration now. Come on, NS2Rs, please, work with me. Very, very messy there. The thing you have to remember, the NS2Rs are very good, however the car is still very heavy.
That's better.
Ah! Ah!
That was a 38.66.
What do you reckon? One more go? All right, do me a favor. What we're gonna do is we're gonna just do a cool down lap. Just get everything back to a nice temperature, and then we're gonna give it one more go.
I think it's here where you're losing a lot, this bit here.
Yeah, I think the big kind of gouges of mud and the grass that's now no longer grass will agree with you. One thing I've noticed since the tyres have been put on the car, the strain on my back feels like it's almost doubled because I'm having to keep myself upright so much more because of the grip. Obviously these aren't proper like tight race bolstered seats, so I'm flopping around a lot, which means that I'm having to kind of hold myself up, which is a first world problem.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
More wheel spin than I'd like. Gotta keep it smooth here. Not too bad. Come on, let's turn in. Let's keep momentum. Yeah, the rears are starting to lose a bit of grip now. Oh, the grass again, sorry. I don't think that was the one, was it?
I'm so sorry. It was 38.32.
Have I beaten it?
Yeah,
Serious?
serious. 0.13.
That's awesome. I'm happy with that.
Result.
Sweet. That is a good result. The brakes smell like they've been used.
Yeah.
I smell like I've been used as well, but I came into this episode hoping for 0.1 of a second, and we clawed back 0.13, was it?
Yep, that's it.
That's the result. The greatest difference, obviously, driving this car is that the brake feel is better, the brakes are sharper on a lap like this where you're only braking once. You're not going to save a lot of time, but on a longer track, something like Silverstone or a proper track, it's going to make more of a difference. But for road driving, for this track, the brakes have made a big difference. Not particularly in terms of time, but in terms of how the car feels, how it brakes, and my positivity going towards the corner faster, which means I shave 0.13 of a second. So, result. Let's go home with that before I crash, because I nearly did over there.
So as you can see, only a small improvement this week, but still a step closer to nailing that M3's lap time. Now let's take a look at the difference in braking between a car with and without those EBC discs and pads. And for that, it is with great pleasure that I can now introduce my very own 330i Touring that I picked up for £140. Because every BMW lover needs two of the same car, right? So let's kick off this experiment with a 330d Touring, aka Gareth, that is now fitted with the EBC brakes. For the sake of accuracy, we'll brake at the red cone from 70 miles an hour. Now it's time to swap the 330D's wheels to the 330i Touring with its standard discs and pads and repeat the test. Because this is the petrol version of Gareth, it's also around 100 kilograms lighter. So in the interest of fairness, I invited my colleague Gabor to join me in the car. As you can see, Gareth saves around a car length in braking distance, which might not look like a lot, but when you remember that I'm now able to brake later for corners, it's here where milliseconds are won back.
Another week, another improvement. Thanks to the EBC brake pads and brake discs, we were able to trim the lap time by 0.13 of a second. We're now, can you believe it, at 38.32 versus last week's 38.45 time. One thing that I will mention is going through corners, the car still feels a little bit too roly-poly. So next week, we will be installing brand new bushes and anti-roll bars, which should stiffen things up and make the car happier through corners, meaning that we're going to be gaining more time. Remember that you can buy all of the car parts that you see on this car, plus more on the Car Throttle shop. And what's more, we are offering free track shipping on all parts and accessories in the UK. To watch more episodes of this wonderful series, click here. To subscribe to Car Throttle, click here. And don't forget to check out the Car Throttle shop right here. Goodbye.